Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through a large 11-game slate. Lots of injuries to talk about. Mike, are you ready? How are you on this fine Wednesday?
Yeah, great. Did my matchups last night, finish it, posted it, went on a hike today. A little cold out here in Arizona, not as cold as some parts of the other country, but yeah, doing great.
Arctic
We're caught.
blast. Arctic blast around the country is what they're calling it, or bomb cyclone, or I don't know, all these fun
Yeah,
weather words.
I had to go pants off on my way down. I was getting too hot coming down. I obviously was wearing shorts underneath, but yeah, it was kind of chilly today. I'm not used to it, man.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, good little slate. I've got some bets in. I'd like you to know that I'm not being disciplined today. I'm sure you know what
shocking.
that means. Yeah.
Shocking. We'll talk Wolves later. Onto onto the injury side of things. Let's start working through the Q tags. There's plenty of them on the slate. Start with a relatively small one from a DFS perspective. I think Killian Hayes is questionable tonight with, I believe it was a contusion, was what he was listed with.
Contusion. Yep.
We saw Jaden Ivey finally have kind of like a breakout game last night. It's been a while since we saw those big Jaden Ivey games. The matchup tonight against Philadelphia, second night of back-to-back, not particularly great. What are your thoughts on Killian's availability tonight?
Yeah, dinged up yesterday, back-to-back. Decent chance he sits. Really tricky spot here. They could bring up Corey Joseph. I think they would kind of keep that the same. I mean, they go to Rodney McGruder way too often to plug in the starting lineup. I think it makes sense to start Sadiq Bey. Just give him a little bit of extra positional size. Kind of just use Boyan as more of a 2-3, but that's probably not going to happen. They might go Burks. They might go Hamidou Diallo. We've seen Casey. Casey is more known for the take the third unit guy and put him in the first unit more than anybody in the league. Maybe it's Kevin Knox. It's kind of, I honestly don't have a good feel for it. Unfortunately, do you have a read on how you think this? I think Corey Joseph is probably the favorite.
My guess was going to be Joseph or Magruder. I think Burks is very unlikely. I think they like him kind of leading the second unit and having the ball in his hands a bunch. I think they want the ball in the hands of Jaden Ivey in the first unit. So I think it's more guys that they're more willing to play as secondary ball handlers or off ball. So I think Magruder and Corey Joseph make the most sense there. They've treated Bey and Knox more as wings than as guards, wings and stretch four in Knox's case. So I think that's probably unlikely. I don't think it's going to be super DFS relevant, regardless. Is what I'd say.
Terrible matchup. Bad matchup for Ivey.
Very difficult. Yeah, very difficult matchup. It was really good to see Jaden attack the basket really consistently, break down Utah's defense, and get his teammates good looks too. He was dishing really well early in the first half, so that was great to see from my guy Jaden Ivey. It's been a struggle of late, but I would expect more of what we had seen before last night for this specific matchup with Philadelphia. Although the 76ers can sometimes play down to opponents, so we'll see. But not a huge DFS spot for me. On to Golden State. James Weissman, questionable. No Dante DiVincenzo. No Andrew Wiggins. No JaMychal Green. We were waiting to see, there's no Steph Curry, obviously. We were waiting to see if there was any information around Draymond Green. Klay Thompson has been ruled out. Waiting to see if Jordan Poole, but no Green or Poole on the injury report. Just a lot of outs in the questionable tag. So without Klay Thompson, without Andrew Wiggins, without Dante DiVincenzo, the guard rotation is pretty thin. They're huge underdogs on the road in Brooklyn tonight, 12.5-point underdogs. What are your thoughts on who slides in the starting lineup for Klay tonight?
Yeah, first of all, I think I was expecting Draymond to miss. We saw him bang his knee in the first half. He got that probable tag earlier, but keep an eye out for that. We could definitely see him get added. But let me just tackle Weissman real quick. Dude, he's so bad.
I mean, what's there to tackle?
I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say
okay.
It's beyond bad. He somehow goes minus 29 in 22 minutes. I was thinking today that like I was going on hiking, and obviously I only think about basketball. I'm like, just play Weissman all the minutes, and if he's bad, just like cut him, dude, or like trade him for nothing because it's just going so badly. But back to your original question. Who starts for Clay? I think it's probably going to be Ty Jerome. I mean, we saw him play pretty long minutes. They're not using Clay as a defender anymore. They kind of put Moody in that role, kind of to a fault. I thought he looked terrible on defense. I thought Moody played a horrible game yesterday, despite how we hit over on him. It could be Kuminga. I don't think they want to really extend Kuminga too much, especially if they want to keep Draymond's minutes short. Also worth noting, too, that if things go bad quickly, we could see the Kevon Looney short stuff. And the Nets are rebounding better as well. But I think it's – I mean, it might even be Baldwin. They might just be like, all right, let's just try this dude out. But I would say Jerome's probably the favorite, sliding Moody to the 3. And then those guys could get pretty elevated minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and then you talked about Looney in the minute situation there. No Jermichael Green. If Weissman's Q, I mean, and he doesn't play, their bigs are Looney and Draymond Green, and there's no one else on the roster. Kuminga, they can play at center. So long way of saying this could be a game that Kuminga has to play a lot, like a lot more than he's been playing in some of these spots. So obviously, from a DFS perspective, this is going to be a spot that potentially has some value tonight. So we'll make sure to hit on it, myself and Gary, on the premium show tonight. But the Warriors are very thin. They're huge underdogs. It's a mess.
Yeah, and even like we saw, Moody got garbage time. And I mean, if Kuminga starts, he'll probably play garbage time. It's just they could potentially be that thin. But
yeah, they want to continue to get more minutes for Moody and Kuminga and Weissman and evaluate these guys. We'll see if Weissman's health allows it tonight. So I think these guys are probably playing in most situations regardless. The one caveat would be that, Moody did play 32 last night. If they want to, if they might not let him go 38, 39 type situation. They might be giving Ryan Rollins minutes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just to manage workload. Okay.
Are you with me that you think Jerome's? I don't feel very strongly.
I think Jerome's the guy that they trust the most at this point. I think the other option would be Anthony Lamb. I think it's one of those two. I think you think
Kuminga's got no chance?
I don't want to say no chance, but I think it's unlikely given the lack of front court depth. I think they really need to treat him as a 4-5 with the lack of depth that they have. So I think it's more likely that it's a guard or a wing. But it's thin everywhere. I mean, I was thinking like Patrick Baldwin Jr. It wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, I was thinking the matchup against Durant and just like them against Durant, and that we have Draymond kind of roaming a little bit, and I think that
could
would
do that.
Work.
Could do that. Yeah,
that's kind of what my initial lean, but I think they really trust Jerome.
I think so too. We'll see. But not going to be a fun game tonight for the Warriors would be my guess. All right, on to Boston, where Marcus Smart is listed questionable. Jason Tatum is back from a personal issue, and Grant Williams is listed in. If Smart is available, there's some questions about what the starting lineup looks like now that they've been kind of moving things around with Time Lord back. What are your thoughts here on Boston tonight?
Yeah, I don't know about Smart. Illness got tagged yesterday, which is usually a better sign that they have a chance to play. Those midday Q downgrades have been pretty bad outlook for that. So we'll see if he is in. Obviously, I think if he's out, they would be starting Derek White, keep Malcolm Brogdon in a 6-man role. We're not looking to Derek White. We don't like Derek White for low ceiling games. But yeah, the matchup is like really fascinating. They're playing the Pacers, right? And we've seen the Pacers have an affinity for this small ball Aaron Nesmith at the 4 spot. But when they played the Cavs last week, they went big and they went back to the Jalen Smith lineup. So very push and pull here. Are they going to start Time Lord and now Horford, which I think it's kind of a coin flip. I think they want to start it, right? I mean, this lineup is really good. It could be tied to Marcus Smart. If Marcus Smart is in, I think developing the chemistry of that first unit makes a lot of sense to me. So I think they start big, and I think as an effect of that, we could see the Pacers also start big with Jalen Smith, which makes the matchup a little bit better for Jason Tatum, who, again, as you mentioned, personal time away, should be good to go. Minutes were huge. He's had like no conditioning issues besides when he had the COVID bout and he had to use the inhaler for a couple months. But I think Smart's got a good chance to miss. But if not, it's pretty straightforward. I don't think they even need to bring Pritchard in. They're pretty comfortable with the 2 point guards they have.
Yeah, Nutridad in chat asking if Time Lord is still on a minutes cap.
Yeah, he's going to be a long time before he's getting, mid-30s. It took him literally like 3 years to get to lose a minutes cap. So I
I
would
think it's
imagine,
extremely unlikely he plays mid-30s at any point during the regular season. I'll put that
yeah,
out there.
yeah, I agree. I think even getting to consistent like 26, 20, like
I think
we're
that's going to take a
projecting his
while.
minutes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it'll be a long time before we're projecting him for like 27
I would
minutes.
guess he might touch 30 once this year. I don't
On a
think
Horford
that.
rest game.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a spot where they're looking at Time Lord now as a player that has a. I'm guessing this is all speculation, but I'm guessing they're looking at him as a player that has a 28-minute ceiling these days. That he's not. They're not looking for. They just know that they can't. Like they in all they care about is having him healthiest during the playoffs. Okay, let's keep it moving to Toronto, where Gary Trent Jr. is listed questionable once again. Kem Birch has been ruled out for this one. Toronto has just been playing some awful basketball of late. What are your thoughts? Or sorry, Kem Birch is questionable. He's not listed out. Birch and Gary Trent Jr., what are your thoughts on their availability tonight?
So we saw Trent get the Q tag last time, and OG Anunoby returned before his timeline. I thought, as I mentioned on Monday, I thought he's missing because he beat his timeline by 3 or 4 days or so, whatever it was. So I think he's got a good chance to play, getting multiple Q tags here. The Trent reporting has been so weird though. There's so many times when he's not in the report and he's out.
I actually saw something on this that I think is interesting. So he's having issues in both thighs. Is what Nick Nurse said. Basically, I forget which side it started on, but then it was an issue on. Now it's being listed as left quad soreness. And I saw this was Twitter, and it's a Twitter doctor. So who knows? Levitan will go on a rant here, but say that there's some sort of issue that sometimes happens with muscles in the immediate aftermath of dealing with a virus, where the muscles are more vulnerable to issues. And they were speculating that maybe this is what's happening because Gary Trent Jr. was ill before this. And maybe that's it's going to take some time to essentially like build that strength back before the muscles are able to withstand kind of like NBA level conditioning. Pure speculation based on, a doctor that's not with the team, not operating on the patient or anything like that. But it was something that resonated with me that was like, oh, okay, that could make sense at what's going on here. Because Nick Nurse seemed totally miffed by like, we thought we had him good with the one quad and then then the other quad was an issue.
Yeah, so I don't have a great read in that situation. And perhaps that's maybe why they bring him off the bench. The Juancho minutes went really bad. And, against a team that rebounds pretty well against the Knicks, Chris Boucher is in the good graces. Nick Nurse was really happy to see him turn up a good offensive game. He's been filling out other areas with help defense and rebounding, but to see him have a double-double, that was a really nice play there. Did we had an over on him? Yeah, we did, right? Yeah, we did.
We had the points over.
Yep. Yeah. So that was a nice hit for us. But yeah, we'll see. Should note as well, OG Anunoby not an injury report, but his dealing with a hand injury. He dealt with it before he went down with the hip thing. Nick Nurse talked about it again. So, man, really tough sell on OG here, despite playing 40 minutes in the last game. And Nurse said he looked conditioned, but this shooting thing is a little concerning with the hand injury. I think it's just non-shooting though.
Yeah, and the Birch minutes that were elevated there, I think that's a little bit matchup specific against Embiid.
100%.
We saw Koloko not play last game, so even though Birch is questionable, from a DFS perspective, I don't think it matters very much. I think they can just plug Koloko into whatever minutes they were expecting there from Birch, and I think it was just save Koloko from Embiid as much as they could last game, essentially.
And Siakam 48 minutes with an overtime period. Just my God, man. Just outrageous minutes. He had a 37 usage rate in 48 minutes, just shucking it.
Yeah, he's been good against the Sixers the last year and a half or so. Let's move to Minnesota, where Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert are both questionable once again. Obviously, we've seen Rudy miss a couple of games here, and Naz Reid has been exceptional in Rudy's absence. Minnesota's playing a little bit better overall, which is interesting. They're playing a Dallas team that they just blew out without Rudy Gobert, without Karl-Anthony Towns, of course. So it's a tough spot for them in terms of like, usually when you blow out a team and you play them the very next game, usually it's a strong rebound effort from the other team. What are your thoughts tonight on Gobert and Kyle Anderson's availability?
Yeah, not much to go on here. We know Gobert's missed some time. Talked about him getting better. I think he's got a chance to return. But why? Why return? Your team is lighting it up without you. Same with Kyle Anderson. Back thing kind of flared up on him. He's dealt with it. He dealt with it before he was out. I'm sure you remember when we were talking about dying with his minutes back because of his back ailing him. This is still ongoing. So I think there's a chance that they sit him down. I think if he plays, we're going to probably be pretty cautious on his minutes because there's, again, even when he plays big minutes, he's like, oh, I should have played him fewer minutes. So I think Gobert has a much better chance to play. I think he has to be, very clear here to be out there and going. Just because Naz Reid, man, not just the offense, like the stats pop out. Their defense is so much better, and which sounds insane, but just because he doesn't play drop coverage like a Cat does, who does poorly. Obviously, Gobert's fantastic in that, but playing, Nas helping, running. They call their high wall screen is like their defensive scheme they run on John Morant, Luka, etc. It's made their defense better. It's made Anthony Edwards be a bigger help defender. Their defense just looks so much better, which sounds bananas.
It's totally insane because you can do all of those same things with Gobert if you want.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if Rudy's just totally unwilling to participate in those types of defenses and like only wants to play defense the one way he's done it for the last like 8 years. But you could do all of those things with Gobert and be even more effective because he's got a wider wingspan than Nas. He's more athletic than Nas. Like it's crazy. But
Nas has looked a lot better though.
Yeah,
he's really looked. His fitness has looked a lot better this year. Obviously, playing 40 minutes really tells the story. But
and that's really the thing that I wanted to note here is you see this game without those two guys. This is like almost a 6-man rotation. I mean, they really didn't want to play anybody else out there. So you see Austin Rivers get to 37, Naz Reid 40, Jaden McDaniels, which my God, Jaden McDaniels to get 37 minutes while primary defense on Luka and not get into foul trouble is an incredible accomplishment for Jaden McDaniels. And then, Ant plays 38, Dar plays 35. Those are kind of normal. But look at the bench. Like Jalen Noel gets his normal 25. Bryn Forbes in there for 13 and no one else above 6 minutes. So point being, they will run these guys into the ground if they need to, if they're without Kyle Anderson and Gobert. They do not trust the back end of this roster very much. And obviously it's been very tested from a depth perspective. I mean, no McLaughlin, no Taurean Prince, no Karl Anthony Towns. We'll see if Anderson and Gobert are there. That's 5 out of their top 10, so like it's for a reason.
And I guess if we could just pivot to knock out Dallas while we're here.
Yep.
No Dorian Finney-Smith is a huge deal. He is one of the best defenders in the league. He's been one of the few guys who has consistently over multiple matchups taken Anthony Edwards and shut him down. Obviously, Ant got going with the free throws, went hot a little bit late, had the huge full stat line here. So we saw earlier in the month, I know what game it was. It was when Donovan Mitchell was torching Dorian Finney-Smith, and they pulled out Dwight Powell and DFS and put in Reggie Bullock and Christian Wood just because Mitchell was cooking DFS. So you would think that they view them in the same bucket. That means Reggie Bullock's getting the start, certainly against a smaller 2-4 team now with the Wolves, since they're not going to have both their bigs. They may have one. You would think they'd be more comfortable playing smaller there. Luka can guard Slow-Mo or McDaniels or whoever the 4 is going to be. So I think it makes sense that Reggie Bullock gets the start. Anthony Edwards is my cover boy. I think he cooks his team. Love how he's playing. His shooting is absurd. Really, since everyone went down, he's shooting like 48% on 3 in his last 6 games. He's like 45% on tightly contested threes, which is completely stupid. He's driving more. He's getting to the line a little bit more. He is playing lights the hell out right now. So I think Anthony Edwards is going to give Reggie Bullock the business today.
One other thing I'll just note on Dallas here, and this is more of the spreadsheet version notes, but you remove Maxi Kleber, you remove Dorian Finney-Smith. These are really low usage guys for Dallas on the whole, and you're replacing them. Frank Ntilikina is a guy that's lower usage. That's okay. But Kemba is a guy that takes a lot of shots. You're also up in Christian Wood's minutes. He's a really high usage player. You'll note Luka only took 17 shots in this game. Dinwiddie 13, Christian Wood 11. It's not quite the same usage gap that we're accustomed to from Luka Doncic. So it's something that it's a 1-game sample, and you could absolutely see situations where Luka is the one who carries all the usage and it gets hit by other guys. But this is a concern for the high end ceiling upside of some of these Mavs guys when there's more usage compression without Dorian Finney-Smith, without Maxi Kleber, and those guys around. So something to note there as well.
We've seen Woods minutes really spike here. They had some garbage time. He has been like flirting with like 38, 39 minutes if teams don't get the garbage time. They're playing him so much right now.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to Orlando, our Magic. Franz Wagner, questionable with the ankle issue. Man, I thought we had what would have been eight in a row. I thought they had it, and then a really bad foul by Paolo at the end of the game gives the Hawks the win in regulation. Magic made a furious comeback here. Their best player, in my opinion, Franz Wagner, questionable on the injury report tonight. What are your thoughts on his availability?
Pretty good. Went through shoot around. He did do post-game interviews, pretty much dismissed anything that was bothering him. So I think he's got a pretty good chance to play here. Good matchup, obviously, against Houston. If I'm wrong, I guess it would be Cole Anthony. They obviously like Terrence Ross off the bench. They like Kevon Harris a lot. We saw Harris pick up like late minutes on the stretch.
Yeah, I could see it be someone like Schofield or Harris. Like I could see it be a low usage guy. They seem to like Cole Anthony in that second unit leading the way usage wise.
Yeah, I would lean Harris in that situation if they don't go Cole. You definitely need the guard defense more than anything else there against the Rockets. But kind of a non-injury note I wanted to add was Markelle Fultz kind of talking about, you mentioned the Powell foul. He was like, oh yeah, he'll feel better, focus on the next game. So it could be like a be a good teammate, feed your teammate the ball kind of a situation. If you want to read into that narrative against such a good matchup.
Is this resulting in a first basket bet? Is this where we're
first?
going?
It could be. We could go first basket. I got a first quarter bet though. I got first. I took a.
Wait. You're touting a first quarter bet tonight?
Yeah, dude. I could tell. I'll tell it right now. Kevin Durant first quarter over 8.5 points. He's played 12 minutes every first quarter since November 6th. Game's gonna be a blowout. They're not gonna have anybody stop him. He's gonna probably see either Kuminga or whoever the hell, or Draymond can't go 1-on-1. Kevin Durant's scoring like 15 in the first quarter today. I got over 8.5, and take whatever juice you want. It's gonna hit. Like juice 400 juice. Who cares, man? So you're just gonna get it paid back anyways. I'm kidding on that. I think I got it like minus 135. I would probably take it to like minus 160. But back to the Magic. Yeah, really good matchup, right? We're seeing Markelle Fultz. Sorry, Claff, if you're listening. Just completely cook, shooting lights out, which you just noted.
47% from three so far this year.
Yeah, the ball handling hasn't really spiked. Like, he's getting big minutes. He's sharing the ball a bit with Franz and with Paolo. He's only got like 6.5 minutes of touch time, which isn't like elite for a guy getting his amount of minutes in the last 5 games, whatever, since the minutes was spiked. But he's been locked in, man. Really scoring. Great matchup here. I think Fultz could be in a pretty good spot. But,
and they've been a different team since he's come back, largely because they just needed any semblance of guard play. Like any semblance of guard play in this team was interesting, and they're getting some good guard play now from Markelle Fultz. Let's keep it moving to the OKC Thunder. Josh Giddey and Darius Bazley both upgraded after going through shoot around. They were originally listed as out. They're now listed as questionable. We saw Shea on the same progression last game, and Shea was cleared. Are your expectations that Giddey and Bazley return tonight?
Yeah, this is basically just in. And I hate myself because I knew this was going to happen, man. Giddey's been listed, since Friday or Saturday? Like, how are they still listing him as out, man? Like, for non-COVID illness. Anyways, not surprising. So that means do they dare take Aaron Wiggins out of the starting lineup? They are undefeated when Aaron Wiggins starts. So we'll see if
despite him being a minus 21 last game.
Yeah, he's unbeatable, man. Shout out to our Andrew. I haven't talked to Wiggins in forever, other than the brief holiday party time. But I would expect definitely Giddey to start. It's got to be over Wiggins. And then probably J-Dub has been starting. Pokashevsky can start again. Although Nurk being available could alter some things. Talk about that in a second. But I think they'll start Pokusevski. They seem pretty comfortable with that. They do but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Omayuri as well.
Yeah. All right. They're playing Portland, one of these baseball type series. After the Shea game winner, Portland gets their chance at revenge. Yusuf Nurkic listed as questionable once again. On the probable side, Dame, Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant, Drew Eubanks, all listed with probable tags tonight. What's your thoughts on Yusuf Nurkic, right calf soreness, questionable tag?
Yeah, been listed for a little bit on this one. Always nervous on soft tissue stuff, especially for a big guy like him, but who's had lower leg injuries in his past. So don't have a great read there. Should be Eubanks filling in if he can't go. A little bit of Watford, like we just saw in the last game. But yeah, new injury. Most of the Hart stuff's old. The Grant stuff's old. Just played 42 minutes while guarding SGA.
Yep.
I mean, just huge workload to come back off a back injury and do that. Did get a front row seat of SGA winning the game on him. But yeah, I think he'll be fine. Dame's injury is to his non-shooting hand. He obviously did get the Dort matchup. Didn't have the greatest game. Just got 28, so I'd expect that to happen again. But yeah, Nurk's really the only one I have any concern about, and we'll see if he can give it a go.
Yeah, unfortunately for my flag plant, Jeremy Grant did play and took all the usage I was hoping would go to Anthony Simmons. Did not work that time.
Aaron Wiggins, man. Aaron Wiggins did a pretty good job on Ant there.
Yeah,
also, do you know the story why he's called Ant?
I do not.
His grandma couldn't pronounce Anthony when he was little, and then he just stuck with it.
All right, there we go. Fun fact. Keeping it moving on the questionable tags, Harrison Barnes and Domantas Sabonis Q tags for the Kings. Are these listed as embarrassment after loss to the Hornets at home? What's the official tags here? It looks like questionable left hand soreness for Sabonis, right quad soreness for Harrison Barnes. They get the depleted Lakers tonight. What are your thoughts on their availability?
So Mike Brown didn't know what happened to Harrison Barnes when it was quite clear he got hit really hard in the quad, and the reporter broke the news to him that he got ruled out for quad soreness. It was very odd. But it looked pretty bad. Like, he got hit really hard. He was limping really bad. And we've seen guys miss. I always point out Cody Zeller, like 4 or 5 years ago. He missed like almost a month for getting hit above his knee really hard. So I think Harrison Barnes has a decent chance to miss. I'm a little bit more in the dark on Sabonis. Non-shooting hand, obviously, hand injuries is generally something you're going to play through. So I would expect him to play. Should note, Mike Brown says he's trying to play in fewer minutes. He just can't. I mean, they got nothing here. I mean, I saw someone post a stat about Rashawn Holmes is giving up like the worst at-rim percentage when he's out there. Mias Keita's giving him minutes now, giving him the 7 minutes of non-Sabonis center minutes. They're not playing Lyles at the center spot anymore. Chimezie Metu's gone away. He just has no answers. One of their G League guys actually just popped off last night. Curious to see if they go there, but I expect Sabonis to play. I expect him to play a lot in a matchup that's pretty good against the Lakers and Thomas Bryant. I think that's pretty solid. But yeah, if Harrison Barnes does miss, a little tricky here, right? Because you're going to have to worry about LeBron. You certainly don't want to put Keegan on him. Do they trust Terrence Davis to give up that much size? I think they might. So I would lean Davis as the starter if they can't get Harrison Barnes in there.
Yeah.
Maybe Izzy Okpala as well.
Okpala would be the other option. I think it's somebody like that. I mean, I think the real thing, LeBron's still incredible. I mean, 27 points per game in his 20th NBA season is just outrageous. But I think they would put somebody like LeBron's not really backing dudes down and just taking them in the post as much. He's really getting a lot of his stuff in transition, and that it doesn't really matter who's in front of him in those spots. So my guess would be Okpala and just kind of Okpala or Terrence Davis, but Barnes did go through shoot around, so there's optimism there. Let's talk about the Clips. We notice Charlotte in that win over Sacramento. They're playing the Clippers tonight. The Clips injury report is littered once again. Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Norm Powell, and Ivica Zubac all questionable. Kawhi Leonard not on the injury report, which is good for now. Who knows if that'll change. But what are your thoughts on Clippers level availability? They've had a few days off here, so I'm kind of surprised to see like everybody still listed on the injury report.
Yeah, they went through practice across the board, so expecting them to play. Just running it down. Yeah, Norm Powell, I think, has been out the longest. And
He's
if
been
you
out for a while.
remember, yeah, he had that big fourth quarter against the Blazers, I think. And
Yep.
he had
And
the
then that
post-game
was it.
interview, and they run it back-to-back. And
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be out there." And like, okay, dude,
Yeah.
that was like 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah.
total Clippers move. He is embracing the team culture for sure. So yeah, I expect him to play Paul George, Zubats. Zubats' injury wasn't very serious. Paul George sounded like it wasn't very serious. Reggie Jackson wasn't serious. We called him worn down, according to Ty Lewis. I expect everyone back, but of course, it's the only 10:30 game on the slate with all those Q tags. So
there's
very
only
Clippers.
there's only 2 games after 8:00 tonight on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
So 8:00 Eastern. So it's definitely an interesting late swap slate from that perspective, that there's not a lot to move to. The big question tonight is, can Zubats? We joked that Sabonis is like 80% of Jokic, right? So Jokic went for 40, 27, and 10 against Charlotte. Then we get 75% of that, or 80% of that, and we look at Sabonis's line, and we got 27, or 28, 23, and 7. So what Zubats is like 80% of Sabonis. So I think we just pencil in like 24, 18, and 4 for Zubats tonight, right? That's like how this transitive property just keeps working. You just keep like how does this happen? How do you keep giving up 20 games over and over at the center position?
Oh my God, yeah, that's so bad.
All right, let's move from the whole Clips team to the whole Bulls team. Alex Caruso, Bulls on a back-to-back here. Alex Caruso questionable with an elbow. No Goran Dragic. No Derek Jones Jr. Javonte Green is doubtful. What does this mean for the Bulls rotation, that they don't have a ton of pieces? They're getting a Hawks team tonight that is rested and not a lot on the injury report. They're without Capella and without Culver. What are your thoughts on what we see from the Bulls tonight? And what does this rotation look like? Because, I mean, that right there in front of you is a 10-man rotation that we're now having to remove Dragic, and we're removing Derek Jones Jr. And if we remove Caruso, that's 7 guys. And what are we doing?
Well, let's start with the front court guys. I think we could say for sure Andre Drummond's getting all the non-Vooch minutes at center. I assume you would agree there.
I agree.
And then Ayo Dosunmu, back from the dead if Alex Caruso can't go. Dosunmu's actually had pretty good run against Trey, both this year and this year before he lost the job. Last year, he had a couple of good games. I'm sure Winky will pop up in the chat.
This reminds me of one of my favorite bets. I'm going to see if the line comes up later.
Oh, baby. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it's he's the spy from Shatiga, right? Like he's good for only one thing. It's taking down the superstar. So I would expect him to start and play probably huge minutes. Because they didn't want to put Kobe White out there for defensive reasons, especially with a lot of ways to attack you with DeJounte Murray, Bogdan. We'll talk about the Hawks side in a second. But yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward, despite how, and we would just see like big minutes. I was waiting to see if the Bulls would list Levine or DeRozan or anybody like that. But yeah, apparently they're going to just go for it and try to get the bad vibes off them after a nice win yesterday.
Yeah, it was a good win yesterday. I felt torn. I was actually rooting for the Bulls yesterday. I feel like my Bulls unders are in a good spot. I feel like they're not going to tank like I want them to, so I should just give up on that hope. And I've got all these long shot Southeast Division futures, so I'm just fading Miami super hard. So I was happy for that. But what does this rotation look like? It's basically, let's say Caruso is out, right? We're thinking Dosunmu slides into the starting spot. Kobe White is his backup, right? Levine is the starting 2. Is the backup 2 Malcolm Hill in that spot? Like, where do we go here? I guess Dalen Terry.
Yeah, I guess Terry would have to come in. He'd have to. Yeah, if Caruso can go, I'd say. Right?
Yeah. So Dalen Terry is not listed on the injury report as G League. Carlick Jones is. Dank's guy. So I guess Dalen Terry is probably in the rotation tonight.
I think so. Yeah.
DeRozan's the 3. There isn't a backup 3. I guess that's Dalen Terry again, essentially. Patrick Williams is the 4. There isn't a backup 4.
No.
So like I mean, it's. I think there's even a chance a very small one, but there's a chance that like Vooch and Drum share the floor together, or Vooch and Tony Bradley, or they're not going to play Tony Bradley and Drummond together because there's no spacing there. But Vooch could be a space forward in some of these instances. I mean, this roster is really, really thin here. So you could see like we could see like a 7 or 8 man rotation tonight. Just looking at who's available for them, that it would be Io, Zach, Kobe, Dalen, DeMar. That's 5. Patrick Williams 6. Vooch, Drummond, Bradley 7, 8, 9. Right? I'm not missing anybody. It's a wing. So Dalen Terry is going to have to play a lot tonight. If Caruso's out. If Caruso's in, then they've got some options. But and they will go. They will go with the 3 guard stuff heavily. So Class saying we're projecting 8.5 man. I think we need more Dalen Terry minutes than what we have currently. Personally, even if Caruso is able to play, I just think we need more Dalen Terry minutes. But yeah, this could get real tight, real tight.
Smells like a DeMar flag plant coming. Possibly.
Could be. And they will go with the 3 guard stuff against Atlanta. It's not an issue. Atlanta's going to play a lot of DeJounte, Bogdan, and Trey together too. So it's really not.
Yeah. Let me just hit. I got a note on Collins I wanted to tackle. I guess we'll hit it while we're here.
Okay.
So you see 20 minutes after. I remember DeJounte got hurt first, and then Collins got hurt. Obviously, every injury is different. But after the game, Nate McMillan said that DeJounte had no cap on him. He feels very good about his minutes. Obviously, you see 38 from DeJounte. Got huge minutes. Collins still in a minutes cap. I'd expect that minutes cap to continue. He also said he wants to play this small lineup, with Hunter at the 4. Makes all the sense in the world against this matchup, right? You could just put Bogdan on Paw, whoever, if it's Io or Caruso, whoever, you could put Trey on him. Should be good to go. Then you got Hunter for DeMar, DeJounte for Levine. It's pretty clean. So I would expect them to start small. We put, I think, 25 minutes on John Collins. Should get a little bit more, but the high stuff doesn't seem to be there. Maybe it's tied to the trade stuff, but I would expect Collins and Okongwu to cover the center minutes again.
He that was not a known minutes cap when the game started, right? That was something that was revealed afterwards. Okay, cool. Because I was considering, I only played one lineup, and I started with John Collins because I was really confident he was going to be low owned. I ended up getting off of him because I swapped some things around late, but I was surprised to see only 20 minutes. He's very good as a point per minute producer when he's in this center role. He's very, very good. Him and Trey have great rapport on lob stuff. They're very good offensively. They struggle more defensively in these roles. And the other thing that I'll note for the Hawks, they're a team that their rebounding percentage as a team has dipped precipitously when Clint Capella has not played the last few years. So when they have Capella on the floor, I looked at this earlier. Let me just pull it up in front of me now. When they have Capella on the floor in games this season, their rebounding rate is 50%. In games without him, their rebounding rate as a team is 44%. They really struggle to rebound the basketball without Clint Capella. If you go back to last year, which is a 13-game sample, it's a 50% rebound rate with Capella on the floor, 46.5 with Capella off the floor. So just be aware that Atlanta struggles to rebound the basketball without Clint Capella around. Okay. Probables and returns. LeBron is expected back, but not so fast, my friend, with the Lakers being healthy. Russell Westbrook is questionable, and Austin Reeves listed as doubtful tonight. What are your expectations on Russ tonight and his availability? Because we know they're without Anthony Davis. They're without Anthony Davis and Russ. We're looking at a LeBron show potentially against Beamtown and the Sacramento Kings.
Nice. For the headline is, oh my God. I almost covered Boy LeBron today, but couldn't do it. I didn't want to get Rich to be mad at me. I think either way, the spot's just massive. But Westbrook, we got that late out of nowhere O-tag. Didn't get any update from Darvin Ham. Didn't really sound too concerned. I think this is like, oh my God, he came out of nowhere. He's out. Just listed questionable again. So I think he's going to be back. But I don't know. Left foot soreness, that's never really a good thing. So if he's out, obviously that puts Dennis Schroeder in a really good spot.
Yeah.
We saw him have a really good game. Darvin Ham talked about how it was really great for him to be, one of the main guys. Obviously, LeBron coming back, he's not going to get 30 today, but role should be pretty good.
I think that's kind of a telling quote, though, right? Like that's basically saying we know Dennis Schroeder is at his best when we allow him to be one of the main guys. We're not able to do that when we have LeBron and Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook all available. So I think that's a pretty telling quote that if Russ is out, we could see essentially it be LeBron as one and or Batman and Schroeder as Robin, and then sort of stagger those guys as well, meaning more usage opportunities for Schroeder, just generally kind of getting back to his old pre-Lakers rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Let's move to the doubtfuls and the outs. Lamar Stevens doubtful for the Cavs. Isaac Okoro, starter's jersey, undefeated. Remains the case today, I assume, against Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, really tricky matchup. I mean, Lamar Stevens was freaking great against Giannis in the matchup they played earlier. See if I could pull the stat up because Giannis had one game against the Cavs and he lit him up. So getting this really quick. I've got Giannis notes too many times. Yeah, he had a 38-point game in the game Lamar didn't start. And then he had a 16-point game against Lamar in the other game. So Lamar was really good. He got the defensive player of the game chain, I think. Anyways, creates a bit of a sticky spot. You're not putting Okoro on him. I think Okoro is going to get the Drew matchup, and then you're going to put the two guards on the other two guys. We'll talk about the Bucks in a second. But I think we're going to see a lot of Jaren Allen and a lot of Mobley guarding Giannis, which is not great for those guys with the way Giannis is drawing some fouls. So, yeah, I think Giannis – I wrote him up in matchups as a guy. I think he could be sneaky here. We know this Cavs defense has been they're actually number one in the season. They passed the Bucks with the Bucks having some eggs. So yeah, I think Giannis isn't really in the worst spot. But yeah, the centers could play a lot if there's some foul trouble. I think Love will get a little bit more minutes than usual to play a little bit bigger and get some spacing. The Bucks actually 3-point shooting D is kind of starting to decline a little bit. We saw them be near the top, and it's really starting to fall off. They're kind of going back to their old ways defensively and giving up threes.
On the other side of that game, Chris Middleton is doubtful. We've unfortunately seen the Bucks play all too frequently this season without Chris Middleton. It's been big usage responsibilities for Jrue Holiday and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The surprise last game was Marjon Beauchamp getting into the starting lineup ahead of Javon Carter. Do you think that sticks today against Cleveland?
I do not. Very different matchup. You've got two very strong guard guys who can score. I think it makes a ton of sense to start Javon Carter, put him on the main ball handler, Darius Garland, Jrue Holiday getting the Donovan Mitchell matchup, and then Grayson on Okoro, etc. So I think that makes way too much sense to me. Despite that, as you mentioned, like really surprising, Marjon Beauchamp getting the start.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it rolling with. Sorry, the bot just is our props bot is just spewing bets. Let's move it to another doubtful tag. Quentin Grimes has had a hard time staying healthy in his New York Knicks career. Listed doubtful tonight. How do you expect the Knicks to replace Grimes, who has been a big catalyst in this big winning streak for the Knicks as they go for 9 in a row and try to continue to add to the banner that they're hanging in Madison Square Garden on this win streak?
Yeah, they got the Grime dog has been just A+, man. Like one of the him and Dorian Finney-Smith both out today really, really swings things. And so matchup important note here. Who would Grimes have guarded to sound like Windhorse? He would have guarded Fred VanVleet. Who's their next on-ball defender that I think that they would want to have in that role? And it seems to me the answer is pretty obvious. It should be Deuce McBride. He's got length. Gary Hartman, our resident Knicks fan, also agrees that they start McBride here. You're basically going to put McBride in Grimes' minutes, and then you put Derrick Rose in McBride's minutes, and then you keep your rotation the same. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You're obviously going to be giving up shooting by not having Grimes, who's been just lighting it up from three lately, and everything else kind of stays the same. I think that makes a ton of sense. If they did go back to Cam Reddish just to get some more size, I guess, but I think that just makes way too much sense. But Tom Thibodeau sometimes cares not for logic, and he will go back to his old ways. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Cam Reddish or
if
even
I know anything about Tom Thibodeau,
Yeah.
it is that this man needs no excuse to try to find minutes for Derrick Rose. And so if the way to do that is elevating Deuce McBride over Cam Reddish, I think it's pretty likely that that's the direction that they go tonight in their pursuit of 9 straight against Toronto. Toronto always an interesting matchup. But one thing that I will note, the Knicks have been blowing out teams like left and right of late, and the minutes have still been pretty elevated for these guys. Like you see 32 for Grimes last night, 29 for Mitch. Randall, Brunson, and Barrett obviously got cut down to 30, 30, and 31. But really, the ceiling on these guys' minutes is so high. And against a Nick Nurse coach team that plays his starters crazy amounts of minutes, I would not be surprised. I would set the over-under at 1.5 players touching 40 minutes tonight in this game. So and all teams combined, because I think Siakam is probably good.
Siakam's in the bag. You probably make it 2.5, right?
I think 1.5 is a good line. I think 2.5 is a clear under.
I would take the over on that. I take the over. I mean, I think Van Vliet's playing over 40.
Yeah, so I think you could see a really concentrated minutes allocation between both team starters, and I think there's pretty big upside here tonight, even on the second night of the back-to-back for the Knicks. One note, would really like to see. Well, I guess it doesn't matter too much. Reddish's usage has been pretty modest, but what we've seen with Grimes and McBride, them playing more, is lower usage rates from those two guys along with Sims has really allowed the usage rates of everybody else to flourish. That's the one knock to reintroducing Derrick Rose is it introduced maybe some other usage. So if you do see Reddish in that starting lineup, it's not a bad thing because that probably means that Rose's bigger usage rate is still curbed. And on the bench and in the second unit when they stagger in McBride's lighter usage rate is still there.
Yeah, and I'll add, it wouldn't affect Brunson to me at all. I mean, he's just going to play the non-Brunsons, Rose.
Right. Yep. Okay. On to, we talked about Dallas. I guess we talked about Dorian Finney-Smith. We talked about Powell back, and we talked about them. Rozier for Charlotte is doubtful tonight. We saw them get a nice win in Sacramento without Terry Rozier. What are your thoughts on how Charlotte looks tonight against the Clippers?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Kelly Oubre has been picking up all the minutes he can handle in the spot. LaMelo foul trouble been very good. Their offenses have been, I think, almost 7 or 8 points better per 100 with LaMelo, which is hardly surprising. Hayward's been playing big minutes. He's been playing a lot better. And we talked about this. The matchup's really important to note here, especially if the Clippers have a lot of guys back, because you're adding big time threats in Paul George and Kawhi. You need 2 really good wing defenders. Oubre would be one. You don't want to use PJ Washington or Gordon Hayward as wing defenders. So I think it makes a lot of sense to play smaller. Pull Mason Plumlee out, put PJ at the 5, bring in Jalen McDaniels and run that lineup a little bit more to kind of cover your bases. And that would be, again, if Paul George is in. If it's out, I would basically retract that statement just because you want a little bit more wing defenders there. And they really trust
also if Zubats is out. Like there's a couple of different paths here where this game could end up very small and be potentially detrimental to Plumlee. The challenge for them, obviously, is the Hornets have been very comfortable going small in the past, different coaching staff as well. This year, because Nick Richards and Plumlee, and they've been so shorthanded, they haven't done it as much. And to do that means, essentially, they're not super comfortable with JT Thor or Kai Jones. Like Steve Clifford doesn't like these guys' defense at all. So it would be really heavy minutes if they go small. Really, really heavy minutes for LaMelo, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, Jalen McDaniels. Those are the only guys he trusts. So
he doesn't even trust them, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting 48 full center minutes because he doesn't trust the other guys. If they're forced to play smaller, it's just huge minutes for all the main guys there. Okay. I think that's it. I think we've largely covered it. Almost a full hour.
Without fan, what the hell, man?
I know it was a big injury day, and we've got another big one of these coming up on Friday with a 14-game slate in advance of the normal NBA day of rest, Christmas Eve, which this year I cannot believe there's a full NFL slate on like the one day I get off. This is like last year I got my booster shot on Christmas Eve because I was timing it to try to like, this is insane stuff. The stuff that runs through my head during NBA season about how I like schedule my life is just insane. But I look forward to this day off so badly during the course of the normal season, and this year it's a full NFL slate, and it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to take that off. So
when are you doing Million show?
We're doing Establish the Million Thursday night after lock of the first game. Nice. So I convinced Leon.
You don't have to. You rip me for betting. You don't have to play.
Yeah. Well, look, we both have gambling problems in our own ways.
True.
All right. So that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, please support the people who support us. This show is brought to you by our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running, in addition to many formats of NFL contests still running for large cash prizes, including the Gauntlet, which I've been drafting in. I love these playoff contests. That's been my new thing. I used to wind down with like a game of Ticket to Ride at the end of the night. Less Ticket to Ride these days, playing a little bit more Gauntlet playoff drafting for best balls. So if you've advanced in best balls and you've gotten some of those cash deposit those cash outs, throw it right in the Gauntlet. If you have not signed up for an Underdog account, please use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right. Myself and Gary Hartman, GPP Bro Gary, will be behind the paywall 5 o'clock Eastern tonight for those of you who have the in-season DFS package to Establish Run. If not, you can check out the subscribe page for any of the packages that we're offering, including our player props package, where we eclipsed the 100-unit mark last night in spite of poor official scorekeeping.
Yeah, what the hell?
Kellen in chat noting that the Jordan Clarkson rebounds might get regraded as win. It is officially showing up in the NBA.com box score as what would have been a win, but was not last night. So it was graded as a loss on many tickets. In spite of that, we still eclipsed the 100-unit mark, which we're very proud of at this point in the season. It's been 2 months. But yeah, we've got all the packages you need for DFS props. Make sure, as always, if you're interested in the props, to read that FAQ. Very important to understand what you're getting into.
No switch yet for FanDuel. Get going, FanDuel. You're officially sponsored by the NBA.
We need more regrades on this Clarkson one so I can actually count it as a win for us. All right. And if you are uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, please consider giving us your hard-earned clicks. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. You can also press, hold down, smash, whatever you feel like, that like button, and help circulate this content. As always, feed the algorithm, help us feed our families. And in those DFS and prop streets tonight, feed yourselves. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.